is amazing. It was clash heads again. This is like Chad Mostyn and Cam Water.
For the first time here for season 3. Davis on pole, Vandergren in second. It's going to be sprint round action here tonight. Let's go racing here at Daytona. It was a good start there from Davis in comparison to Vandergren in behind. Cowan's absolutely bogged it up and already dropped out of the top 3 here as they come down towards turn 1 for the first time. There's biffing and barging between Gallen and Cowan. These guys are still going at it after last season. They survived for this time by though. Through turn 2 and 3 they come. Nice and clean, boys. Keep it up as they come up to...
I love riding. It's a real social thing. There's a great bond between riders.
Every weekend I look forward to getting out there. It's a freedom like no other.
Riding to work is a great way to start the day.
Shannons insure all types of road bikes, not just classics. They offer features riders really want. It's why they're one of Australia's leading motorcycle insurance providers.
Whatever you ride,
Whatever you ride,
Whatever you ride,
ride with Shannons.
Call 134646 for a quote.
Through turn 1, it was a horrible start from De Bono, who's absolutely bogged it up and gets eaten alive by Dixon and Gowans as they come on through. Through turn 1 they come, and they all spread out around in towards the first sector of the Silverstone circuit. They look all right at the moment. Okay, there's already been a car spun round. That's Jordan Ferguson off wide.
Is green, green, green at Road Atlanta here as well. Faulkner did get away. De Bono is tucked in as well. Unfortunately, Houghton is on that outside line. De Bono does want to turn it to turns. He's got the job. De Bono's overtaken. Now can he get Ben Faulkner up through turns 2 and 3? They go round the right-hander, dropping down the hill. Faulkner's out in front. De Bono second. Houghton third. Ratcliffe in fourth. No real dramas going into turn 1.
We've always had a few cars. They're all special. The T-Bird.
Oh, that's mine.
The Combi for when we want to get away. The XR8.
It's going to be a classic.
They're all insured with Shannons,
We've also got Shannon's home and contents cover.
which helps protect our automotive collectibles, tools and memorabilia in the home and garage. If you're motoring enthusiasts like us, it's got to be.
Shannon's.
Shannons, insurance for motoring enthusiasts. Call 134646 for a quote.
This is amazing. It was clash heads again. This is like Chad Mostyn and Cam Waters. Almost the same situation. Better contact going down the hill. Sam Noble wants to sniff on Dave Coleman now. Sam Noble bottle right now because tell you what, Bruce Tanek and Jamie Dyson just absolutely drove away from us. Hayden trying to go around the outside. This is where he could have just sent it up the inside, but he hasn't implemented it, which is fair enough. It's very scary out there, ladies and gentlemen. Yeah, let's see if we get some good runs. Dodds just absolute thinker, but it is a really nice move. Blake Delaney had to move out of the way.
Good evening, good morning, good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to SRWtv. Welcome into the Warren Brown Tools GTD series here on Friday nights after an epic first round last week at Spa. Friday night double bubble action has been absolutely epic since last week. It was Legends and GTDs. It was awesome last week. We had Legends earlier tonight. That was absolutely incredible. Nurburgring though, what a hell of a challenge it's going to be for these drivers here tonight for round 2. And what a way we could do it here. I'm Hamish Munro, your commentator, joined this week by Brad Hudson. Unfortunately, Stefanie Piccoli, my regular co-commentator, has got some illness, so hopefully you are feeling better soon, Steph. But Hutto, normally you're in the world of open wheelers, normally you're in the world of the old super formulas, but now you join us in sports car land tonight. Going to be a good challenge. We've seen how super formulas can do around this track, but these old boats out there may have a bit of a tough task ahead of them tonight.
Yeah, good evening, Hamish. Thank you for having me on the broadcast. Yeah, it's definitely a bit of a sea change for me, going from something with high downforce to, like you said, driving a boat. I definitely can't get the hang of these cars, but I'm looking forward to the race ahead.
Well, what we can expect tonight, of course, is 40 minutes of fast-paced action around the Grand Prix No Chicane variant of the Nurburgring GP layout. We've seen many a chaos happen at this circuit, whether it be supercars, whether it be the open wheelers, whether it be 8.6s, or the GTDs as well. Even when we ran IMSA with the GTP class as well, we've had some big chaos happening at this track. This sort of series, Hutto, I know you're a little bit out of your depths with this one, of course. Kind of proves the reasoning why iRacing separated the road licenses to open wheeler and sports class, because there are people out there like yourself who's heavily into open wheelers, and then there might be other people out there maybe a little bit more similar to me who like sports car racing, and they don't want one series or the other to affect that said license on iRacing. But Nurburgring, let's talk about the track quickly, Hutto. This track is, it's famous for so many reasons, of course. Nurburgring 24 hour for the full layout. The Grand Prix circuit's hosted many a fantastic races over the years, whether it be in open wheelers, whether it be in sports cars, whether it be in touring cars like DTM as well. Do we think we could possibly see some quality action on hand here again tonight? We've got the likes of Barbs, McCartan, Stanley, who's gained some great pace this week, Brooke, Dougie Gowans too. Do we reckon we could see ourselves having a quality race here tonight around one of the world's crown jewels of racing?
Are we going to see a spectacular race? Yes, I think we will. If last week is anything to go off when the guys were at Spa, absolutely. It was a very close 1-2 finish last week with McCartan and Beatrice, and even the top 5, top 6 were all kind of within shot down that the pit straight. I'm expecting much of the same this week.
Well, even when we've had Super Formulas or F3s here, the field never really spreads out too much, does it, around this place? It's almost, you get those little battle packs that start to form. You might have separation between maybe, the top 5 and then the next 5, but you've always got a battle happening somewhere around this track. It's never really, they spread out about a second or 2 seconds between each other. I think what's going to be interesting though is how some drivers try and find their way through the field if they have a poor qualifying, and they have to try and make their way through those battle packs and up towards where they want to be at the front end of the field.
I guess that's the thing, Hamish. This track offers a lot to the defending driver. Whilst we do have several long straights and some flowing corners, it can be a little bit trickier to pass at times, because I guess if you go too wide in certain spots, it's almost near death. It's just one of those. It's quite a technical track, really. Like, I'm just watching Jake Edwards head down to turn 6 down there, turn 6, turn 7, and normally you'll see the cars go 2-3 wide, and I guess it's those that are brave that come away with the chocolates at the end. But this is a 40-minute race. It doesn't have to be one in the first 5 or 10, but yeah, I guess we'll see how this race pans out, if we see a bit of a break within the field. But I'm expecting possibly the top 10. I see some very strong names in there, the top 10 to be all quite bunched together for the whole race.
Well, I think it's going to be interesting. You mentioned the opportunities to get passing done. I think this is a heavy pressure track. You can apply a lot of pressure on your opponents, and it's whether they will crack under that pressure that is actually going to determine whether you can get those moves done. Obviously, moves into turn 1, down in towards even turn 4, 5 off the exit, into 6 and 7, as you mentioned, as well, even off the exit of turn 8, the tight hairpin at the bottom of the circuit. A lot of different passing opportunities around this track, and I think it's going to really show us tonight who may have the right amount of cojones about them to try and force those moves or to try and apply that pressure to their opponents, but also who have the wits about them to be patient and make those patient moves, sit behind someone, continuously apply that pressure and force the mistake. That is where they're going to get the most out of these cars. That's where they're going to get the most out of this race. And it's most likely how they're actually going to get the most out of the positions they can gain in this race here tonight. As I said, that qualifying getting underway. Cars are heading out on track. Matt Feely is one of the first to leave the pit lane here. We've got a couple of chats there already. Jacko is saying, is that the man, the myth, the legend, Hutto? And he's claiming he is not worthy to be in your presence. Steph saying you've saved the day there. Doug Gowan saying, come on, Dougie, go old boys. He's giving himself some self-love there in the chat.
Very good.
I look forward to this. I mean, Nurburgring, it's a track that you see on a calendar and you think, yeah, I mean, you kind of expect Nurburgring to be on the calendar, don't you? But it's one that it offers a bit of a challenge, and you either love this place, or I feel like you maybe dislike a little bit, but you have a respect for it, and you can find some enjoyment out of it. I don't know if I've ever really met anyone who just flat out hates driving the Grand Prix circuit. I think there is always something for somebody around this place, and you can get something out of it as well.
Absolutely, Hamish. I'm one of those drivers that has yet to tame the track. I haven't had the best of luck. I think I've raced here maybe a handful of times now, and I haven't really had great success. But I've always, I guess, strived to learn and figure out exactly how to get around this track. I'd like to say quickly, but how to just find the 1 or 2 seconds I have back to the leaders of whichever particular class I'm racing in. But yeah, hats off to the competitors out there tonight to put in some quick laps, and let's see what happens in qualifying.
Hopefully they can find some pace out of these cars. I think what I've found driving around this track, as much as I have previously, is it is a track that, we mentioned a rhythmic circuit, we mention that quite often, but I find that this circuit, if you can get into that rhythm, but you can do it as smooth and consistently as possible, those lap times will come. I find this track is you can overdrive it very easily, and that's then when you actually start to lose that lap time out of the car. So I think there's a lot of time to gain for drivers who maybe aren't able to find the lap time per se, just in by getting a little bit more consistent, being smooth, being precise, picking where they want to put the car, and just trying to do it, as the session goes on. I've often found myself, I get the best time out of these cars. Not only the more laps I do, but the more consistent laps I do. So if I'm doing a race stint, my best laps often come halfway through towards the end of the stint. Yes, I know the car's a little bit lighter on fuel, but I find that's one of the most confident in the car because of the amount of laps I've done beforehand, and I'm able to push in certain spots that I maybe never thought I could prior, just based on getting more comfortable across the lap and continuing that consistency, as I mentioned.
Yeah, I think you're bang on there, Hamish. For the very few enduros I've done in the GT3 cars, I think you're right. At the start of a stint, it's very boat-like as compared to, a high downforce car. But it really comes towards the driver, middle way to the 3/4 of the end of the stint, if going off a full tank. And like you said, I think this car or this series is all about rhythm. If the drivers can just, slowly chip away, just make those times, sneak up on the drivers in front of them, and then be able to apply pressure, it could be big rewards for those that are chasing.
McCartan right now is looking to top the timesheets. He's gone top of them with a 155.48, 0.45 of a second faster than his teammate Greg Barber. Jamie Dyke had an incredible first lap. In fact, he went purple early on in the lap until he was quickly pipped by Stefan. He's on P3 with a 56.39. Thomas Donahoe P4 with a 56.4, and then Benjamin Brook currently 56.6 slots him in P5, although he has just been pipped by Jacob Traynor. 156.57. So the times are coming in quick and fast. And as Jacob got a SRW leader on the car, has Sinker fished out another driver out of the privateer field?
It looks like it. It's a big SRW on the side. There's Grim Industries on the bonnet. Looks like Sinker's done it again. The SRW stable is growing.
It is indeed, and we often call him, the Titanic because of his name Sinker. We need to start calling him the fishing barge because he's just putting bait out there after bait out there and trying to hook, line, and he's
just throwing the nets out there and he's just picking up whatever's out there.
That's it. He's on Deadliest Catch next season, I've heard. So he's trying to get as many new drivers in as possible. Fair play to him. Shannon Wright out in the field for Valve Esports in his Corvette. You can obviously see Heath and of course Sean Benici as well. Don't get confused, they are not from the same team. Their cars just have very similar colour schemes. This is of course Frog Lip Juice Racing's entry for Sean. He'll be happy to know that we're not expecting any rain tonight, otherwise his computer may be going bye-bye. So he will be hoping for a full dry running as is expected. Jake Edwards yet to set a time. An impressive run in the Legends earlier tonight. We'll see if that will translate here into the Nurburgring, as Aaron Stanley comes through turn 1 as well for Valve Esports. So about half the field set lap time so far, Hutto, but the likes of Rushworth, Noble, Hodgkinson, Hughes, King, Wright, Benici, Edwards, Brett and Stanley are yet to set lap times here.
Well, there's still time in qualifying. We've only 6.5 minutes in of 20 minutes, so plenty of time for these drivers to find some rhythm, put some laps down and try and make their way up the grid for starting.
So what might you be hoping to get out of tonight? Obviously a bit of learning for the broadcast booth, but maybe also a bit of learning about these cars, how the races can progress, and how the cars can develop over a stint.
Yeah, I'm quite looking forward to seeing, I guess, a different strategy. There's going to be a higher fuel burn with these GTD cars as opposed to what I'm used to, and just seeing like who goes in early, who tries to go long, if the safety car is called, how does one negate the undercut or the overcut. So I guess there's a lot to learn. So strategy, the drivers here as well. There's a lot of I'd say cross-trade or cross-series drivers here. Some very regular names I see. Yeah, I think it's going to be quite a big learning curve for me. But let's see how the race pans out first.
Well, if we look at the list of who drives in this series comparatively to the Super Formulas, obviously we've got Bobby Downs, Jamie Dyke's done a Super Formula race, Harry Dodds has previously done it, Benjamin Brooks in this season, Sean Benici, Russell Gander, as well as Martin Lipsky as well, Noble, Calvin Hodgkinson, Josh King. So there's Andrew Rushworth. There's quite a lot of crossover between this series and the Open Wheelers and the Super Formula Championship on Wednesday night. So, you say, high downforce of the Open Wheelers. These cars are not necessarily low downforce. They have got some downforce for sure, not as much as the Open Wheelers, of course. Those are more based around ground effects. These things are more like supercars if you decided to strap some cardboard wings on them, and they then gain downforce on it pretty much. So. I would compare the Super Formulas or Open Wheelers closer to the likes of like a GTP car. Those things heavily rely on ground effects to get their downforce, where these things rely on the downforce to get that grip on as well. Steph Piccoli saying, let's hope the battles and re-entries cleaner than last week. That is a good point as well. Last week we did have some we'll call them feisty battles out on track and some very interesting rejoin selections by certain drivers. This track though, Hutto, I think rejoins are actually going to be quite imperative because you can easily run it wide, especially down here with Dougie's coming through at 6 and 7. And then you've got to make sure you do get back on track nice and cleanly. There could be some real hot spots around this track that could lead to some questionable moments from some drivers with how they decide to rejoin the circuit. If they have got a choice to rejoin the circuit, obviously sometimes they can come reverse onto the circuit at pace, but even up here at the Schumacher S's as well, where we can see some carnage happening too. So we'll be very interested to see how it pans out. We are halfway through qualifying though. 14 drivers have set lap times in qualifying at this stage. Stefan McCartan leads the way as Doug Gowans has put that car into the wall. We've then got Greg Barber P2, Gowans in P3, Donahoe P4, Traynor making up the top 5 minutes, Dyke, Dodds, Brooke, Benici, Williams making up the 10. Feely, Gander, Lipsky, Wright is the last drivers to set lap times. As I mentioned, Noble, Hodgkinson, Hughes, King, Edwards, Brett, Rushworth yet to set times. We have, though, just gotten a lap time from Aaron Stanley, who we were both keenly eyeing off in practice, Hutto, as a possible little dark horse here tonight. He actually topped the practice times, interestingly enough. He's put together another good lap in qualifying with a 55.36.
Yeah, well, I guess, like we said, saw the quick time in practice, and following up from that P8 last week at Spa, I think he'll be looking for a much improved performance. So fingers crossed he can, I guess, stay towards or improve his performance from last week, and get on the podium this week.
Well, yeah, if you look back at how many positions he was able, although he lost 2 positions last week. He started P6, finished P8. Hopefully he can do the reverse of that. If he can do the reverse of that, gain 2 positions, he can get P1 here tonight, get himself a win. So we'll see if he can pull all those together and have a quality run here tonight. Jacob Traynor. I'm very interested to see how this guy does here tonight. He's put a good time in qualifying, 56.32. So it's only the top 4 who are in the 55s, but he did show some promise last week, Hutto. Doug Gowans as well. He's been starting to find his footing in these cars as well. Whether he can put a full race together or a complete race in terms of staying nice and clean, staying out of the wall, staying out of the pits is imperative. And that's one of the big things, especially in endurance racing. Although we're not doing endurance tonight. Endurance racing, and more importantly for these cars, the best way you're ever going to win a race is just by keeping your car out of pit lane as much as possible. Obviously, you cannot get away from doing pit stops, but if you can avoid any extra pit stops, you are going to gain massive positions very, very consistently throughout a race, and it can win you a race. I recall the 6 hours of the Glen, the car that I drove in, we started P49. We did not take an extra pit stop outside of changing our tyre compound for the wet weather, and then obviously our regular pit stops. We finished P5. We never had to take an extra pit stop, so that is how much you can get. I mean, that was obviously across 6 hours, but with half-sized field of that here tonight, there could be some big gainers in the field if they can keep their cars clean and if they can avoid the chaos out on track.
Well, Hamish, it goes back to that motto. At first to finish, you've finished first, whatever that is.
Yeah, yeah.
Remind me again.
To finish first, you must finish, or first you have to finish. So it's an old cliche, but it's one that it has a lot of merit about it. If you can't make the checkered flag, you're never going to make the top step of the podium. So and I think that's what a lot of drivers need to have the mindset of, especially at the start of a race. Like, it's a 40-minute race. Have you got a time machine that you can somehow make the clock run 40 minutes in the span of one lap? I mean...
Or if you use the long version of this track, the Green Hill.
Yeah,
if
that's
you were to turn left after, turn 15, turn 16 there, that last little chicane.
Pretty much, Dougie Gowans not too far away from it. Yeah, just a bit of a 20-kilometre detour that Dougie Gowans could take at the end of this lap.
Yeah, up the end, turn left and just follow it around, you'll be right.
Yeah, your lap time might gain about, I don't know, I think it's 6 minutes. Yeah, no, it's like 6 minutes extra on these laps. They're doing 2 minutes around the GP. It's probably about 6 minutes of the 20Ks. So, yeah, it'd be about an 8-minute lap time. So, I mean, but yeah, I'm looking forward though tonight to not only the battles, Hutto, picking apart how these drivers are attacking this track and how they're attacking and how they're actually picking apart how they want to attack the other drivers as well. And there are a lot of solid nuances that you can put into making those overtakes in these cars. But I guess the difference is between these and open wheelers is you can actually bang doors, you can push your limits a little bit further than the open wheelers in terms of you can slide up the inside and not worry about your wheel getting ripped off. You can still get turned around pretty easily, but we could still see some really, really good door-to-door battling, but also that strategy play. Everyone will know I love a bit of strategy, Hutto, of when they want to bring it in, how much fuel they want to put in, if they go long compared to if they go short, and how that's going to play out throughout this race. There will be a midpoint where everyone is spread out because the pit stop period is occurring, but then they'll all come back together nicely at the end of the race. and we'll see whose strategy is played off the best. And I guess when we get into the race, we could get some of those close battles, and the undercut then may be more imperative. If you come in slightly early, you get into clean air, you can then push on. But if we haven't really got too many of those battles, I don't know if undercut's really going to work that well, because if everyone spreads out, everyone's doing about the same pace, you may be giving up track position for no reason at that point.
I guess we'll be able to find that out when we do the interviews and be able to chat to the drivers at the end of the race. And I guess, how important is it, that pit stop in the middle, or when you take that pit stop, or, you know, going long, going short? And like you said, if everyone's bunched up, people will be able to save fuel, or, you know, pit early and try and find that clean air if they're struggling to get past another car. I guess, you know, we'll see in 40 minutes time, but I'm looking forward to seeing around the, you know, 20 to 30 minute mark when the fuel starts to quite drop off, and who gambles, or are they all going to stay in line and try and go door to door, as you said, bit of wheel banging, and yeah, make their way up the field.
I think the biggest roll of the dice is if anyone comes in at, say, like the 10 to 15 minute mark. Obviously, if they can come in, at 30 minutes, it means they can afford to have 10 minutes worth of fuel. Which means if they drop 10 minutes worth of fuel, they should be able to add, you know, whatever it is and get home from that point. But they normally like to go a little bit longer, so they then have the fresher tyres at the end. I think with a track like this, which has such high tyre degradation, which can lead to so many tyre battles and worsens the tyre degradation, I don't think we see many of the front runners coming very, very early, like at that 10 to 15 minute mark. Maybe coming in 20 to 25 minutes just to get a slight bit of clean air over their competitors. I think we're more likely going to see some rolls of the dice from the back of the field, maybe from a Russell Gambit, maybe from a Rushworth, maybe a Noble. You know, just rolling that dice, seeing what plays out, and seeing if they come up trumps or if they pop snake eyes and have to go home.
Yeah, well, we always love to see those who are willing to, like you say, gamble, or your little puns there, Hamish.
Yep.
Those who are willing to gamble with the strategy, and, you know, sometimes it pays off, sometimes it does not. But at least it throws up a possibility, and I think that's imperative for our viewers out there. If it does, I'm not saying it's a boring race, but if, you know, those races that just everyone settles into the groove, the terminal laps, if someone's out there willing to, say, roll the dice and, you know, pit early or try and jazz it up somehow, I guess it just seeing a name come back through the field, you kind of, you know, there's another one, are they going to make it? Do they fall short? Or when the, I guess, leaders ahead of them, when they're pitting, who's going to come out in front? That's the sort of thing I love seeing across all sorts of racing here on SRW.
Yeah, and we get that across pretty much all the series here of, you often get someone who's rolled the dice and has then decided, hey, I'm gonna really just test the waters here, come in a bit early and just push my limits, you know, maybe push the limits of the tyres a little bit here or there, but just say to myself, hey, let's have a slap, let's, you know, put $5 on it and just see how it goes, you know, just have a punt. It could pay off, it could not.
You talked about tyre degradation. I'm not sure, is there going to be that much tyre degradation? It's, you know, it's only 24 degrees ambient temperature and 34 on the track. I can't imagine that's going to do too much to the tyres.
No, I mean, tyres are made to last an hour, and now that I think about it, no one ever takes tyres in their pit stops in this series. I don't know why I even mentioned tyres, to be honest with you. I suppose you would maybe only take tyres if you were able to push your car out to literally 5 minutes to go before you come in, and maybe you just take tyres just to have fresh up for that final 5 minutes if you're just trying to push to attack someone. Obviously some drivers could waste their tyres, as Dougie Gowans has just proven how easy it is to burn them up by having a big old slide into the wall. But yeah, just how you know, and I think it's really all going to be on a race-to-race basis, and a driver-to-driver basis of how they're actually attacking the track, how they're approaching the corners, how they're approaching their opponents on track, and again, how they're looking after those tyres. I think what it's going to come down to, they're not likely going to take tyres in this race. What it's going to come down to is the final minutes of this race. Have you been conserving tyres? And if you have, are you in the attacking position or are you in the defending position? Because I think if you have the fresher tyres and you're in the defending position, you're in a slightly better chance than the attacking driver because their tyres are a bit shot. They're can't really quite brake as late as they used to. They can't really push hard as they used to. If you can just defend consistently, you can pretty much hold them back. If you're attacking with those pressure tyres, someone can still somewhat defend with the older rubber on the car. And I don't know if it's actually going to make as much difference as if you're defending the position. But we will have the answers to all these questions throughout this race, of course, Hutto. Qualifying is done and dusted. Drivers are going to have to cross the line now, finish off their laps. The only two drivers who yet to finish their laps is Andrew Rushworth. It was Shannon Wright, but he has now brought it in. So Andrew Rushworth is in fact our final driver to actually finish a lap in qualifying. Greg Barber is provisional pole position, and Rushworth's time is not looking like anything special right now. So I don't think, nothing against Andrew, I don't think he's actually going to pit Greg here for P1. But if he can pull this together, he might be able to get himself a cheeky top 15, maybe even on the bubble of the top 10. Comes round the final corner to end out qualifying. Andrew Rushworth, the final driver to cross the start-finish line. What is the lap going to be for him? As I mentioned, it was a 1:57.48, so he did actually improve, but he did not gain any positions off the back of that one. As we see the beautiful scenery of the German hillside, an absolutely beautiful part of the world. Have you had the opportunity to travel here, Hutto?
No,
he technically travelled there right now, so he's here now.
This is true,
Just
Tyson.
like myself.
This is true. This is true.
But I've got some breaking news.
Yes.
So car number 981 has been disqualified from the session.
Oh dear.
Car 981's Harry Dodds.
Yes, so car 981 is in breach of 0.42, which is the car rule. So Harry last week rocked up in a Ferrari. This week he has stolen someone's Mercedes. So just thought I'd let the broadcast know. Mr. Dodds is aware, but I'll make that announcement to the rest of the drivers during the pre-race. But I thought I'd give you the exclusive before that.
We love an exclusive, Tyson. Thank you so much for that. I really appreciate it, mate.
Not a problem.
What a shame, though, for Doddsy, Hutto. He loses out on racing tonight. Absolute scenes here. He's joined in the wrong car and has now been disqualified from this race. And unfortunately, he has bought a plane ticket to Germany for absolutely no reason whatsoever.
Yeah, it's very unfortunate to see a driver drop out so early, or even before the race has actually started. Possibly just a slight, I guess, brain fart of sorts when selecting the car tonight, but yeah, those things happen. I'm sure Dodds will be back next week and, you know, looking to, I guess, make amends for this week.
Well, that's all he can really do at this point. The chat are giving their opinions. Adam Hughes is claiming that RC is not go-to tonight after making the claim it was on Wednesday, ironically when I was in the RC booth, Hutto. So maybe there's a correlation there for Hughesy. I don't know. Mark Cochran in the chat as well, giving his love to Andrew Rushworth. Steph giving the well done to Rushworth and Rusty Gander. Sean Manich saying a shame for Dodds. It is a shame, but them's the breaks, unfortunately. But we get to go racing now for 40 minutes in a beautiful part of the world. I have been. The reason I asked you the question, if you've actually travelled here to Germany, Hutto, is because I actually have travelled to Germany, and it is a beautiful part of the world. I hope to go back there sometime soon. But starting grid for tonight's race for those drivers who have made the trip over to the Rhineland, it'll be Greg Barber and Stefan McCartan for a Blackout OPR front row lockout here tonight. They'll start ahead of Aaron Stanley and Doug Gowans on the second row of the grid in behind. Thomas Donohoe and Callan Hodgkinson then line up in behind for P5 and P6. Jacob Traynor and Tom Williams then start P7 and P8 on the road. Jamie Dyke will start P9. He would have started ahead of Harry Dodds, but unfortunately, as mentioned by Tyson McAvoy, Dodds has been disqualified for bringing the wrong car on the boat with him to Germany here tonight. Benjamin Brook and Jake Edwards then starting behind P11 and P12. We then have Sean Manici, Matt Feely in behind Mitch Noble, Andrew Rushworth, Martin Lipsky, Russell Gander. Shannon Wright will make up the top 19. Adam Hughes is in the session. I don't think he's actually racing. He might be doing race control. And Josh King and Lockie Brett at the back of the field. I think they may have rear of grid penalties, if I'm correct, Hutto.
Quite possibly. I guess we'll see as they line up just now, coming down to the 2-minute timer that's been set. Hamish, who's your standout driver so far? Who do you think has, I guess, popped up during practice and qualifying that caught your eye?
Honestly, I've got to say Aaron Stanley. I am impressed by his qualifying here tonight. Now, the reason I don't mention Barbs is I expect this of Barbs. He is a previous GTD champion. We expect him to do well. Stefan did well last week. We know he's quick in these things. We expect him to do well as well. But Aaron Stanley, an unknown for me. I don't know much about him. He has absolutely rised up the ranks over the last 2 weeks. He's done an exceptional job to get that car in a P3. I'm looking forward to seeing how he does here tonight. Same thing for Jamie Dyke, who's normally quite quick in a Mustang V8 supercar, has tipped his toes a little bit in open wheelers this season as everyone's gridding up, but I've got no one on the grid. Oh, it's because it's a rolling grid. That's why, of course. I forgot it was a rolling start. That's fine. I was worried for a second, like, wait, no one's on the grid. Why have we got lights going up? But yeah, Jamie Dyke, I look forward to seeing how he goes here tonight, Hutto, as well. Had a pretty good race last week, made up a bunch of spots. He starts a bit higher up the order this week. We'll see, though, if he's able to put all the pieces together, make up some important positions on track here tonight. And if he's able to maybe pip that podium that he missed out on last week.
Well, as we see the drivers just rolling off for their start, blackout OPR with the front, holding out the front row. Do you think they will, I guess, try and dictate this race, or will they just go hell for leather? They, bang doors and just go away with it? What do you think, Hamish?
Well, I think Barbs will be excited for the fact that he gets to race at the front this week. And I do think that they will try and work together to build this gap as much as possible. But we're going to see how they do it in just a moment's time. Barber has control of the field. Lights are going to go up. We're going to go racing around the Nurburgring for 40 minutes here tonight for round 2. And we are go for the Nurburgring. You see in the background there, Stanley's had a poor start. He's already trying to cover off of Traynor as Gowans, Hodgson. Doddsy is on track though. He's been disqualified apparently, but he's on track. I'm very confused right now as they come through turn 1, Hutto.
Yeah, so I guess that'll be one for race control to try and figure out and amend. But yeah, it seems like the field's gone through quite smoothly so far, as we see Donohoe just starting to tumble down, so to speak.
You spoke way too soon there, Hutto.
Is it Jack Edwards, Tom Donohoe?
Yeah, and Sean Benici as well.
Bit of damage on that vehicle there.
Yep, just a little bit on the front end as Barbs leads them through 5 and 6. On board with them now as we come down towards the bottom of the track at the hairpin. Just a mist of fog heading over the hills in the background. See them all trickle their way on through to the hard braking zone of the next corner. Yeah, he's still out there, Steph. Although I asked Stefan this. Apparently we have got one car change this season, Hutto, so maybe that's the only reason he's not technically disqualified is he's just taken his car change as of round 2.
Yeah, quite possibly. He might have found that the Mercedes just suits him a lot better than... Oh, as someone goes off the background, how's that? Callan Hodgkinson. Big hit.
That was a massive hit for Callan.
And we've seen Dougie Gowans go off in the exact same spot twice in qualifying. And seems to have... where's he sitting now? Now moves up to P3 with that little misdemeanor from Mr. Hodgkinson.
Yep, so he has allowed Gowans, Dodds, Stanley up the field as well as others. Fortunately for Callan, he's now further back down the field. McCartan and Barber have already started to build this gap now as we come around the final corner to end out lap number 1. As we currently stand off the end of lap number 1, it is indeed Greg Barber to Stefan McCartan, Doug Gowans, Harry Dodds, Aaron Stanley from the top 5. Tom Williams, Jamie Dyke, Adam Hughes, Jacob Traynor, Matt Feely, Mitch Noble, Benjamin Brook, Andrew Rushworth, Martin Lucy, Russell Gander for the top 15. Wright, King, Benici, Donohoe, and then Hodgkinson and Edwards make up the rest of the field. Brett has not got going, but Hughesy has had an immense start tonight. He is already up 12 positions on track, Hutto, and he's already on for the biggest mover and shaker of this race.
Yeah, fantastic start by Adam Hughes. It'll be interesting to see if he can, what his plan is now. Does he try and get push past all these drivers now? Or is he just settle into a rhythm and just slowly make his way up? Because sitting in the back of the train here, he might be able to save a bit of fuel and hopefully go long after the, or go long in this first stint.
He is looking feisty right now. He is trying to get the moves done on Jamie Dyke nice and early. He's giving him the big hurry up through the second sector of this Nurburgring circuit. He wanted to possibly line it up at the bottom of the hill, not quite close enough though to go for the dive this time by. Dyke covers it off nicely through the long right-hander. Very important you maximise that exit of that corner, Hutto. If you catch a little bit too much curb on exit or you get onto it a little bit too early, you can easily slide the car out and end up in the wall on the right-hand side as they come up through the Schumacher S's this time by. But it is, they are starting to get into a little bit of a train now, but this is being led now by Harry Dodds, who has now gotten past Doug Gowans. Controversial it may be, but Doddsy is in P3 at the moment. I'm going to suspect that my suspicions were correct with the ruling of one car change. That's what's allowed him to drive, possibly. Because surely Tyson or Race Control would have got over the radio by now and we might have that quite possibly, but I'm not sure. I don't really have the answer. Without Tyson being here, I don't have the answer.
Yeah, we'll just wait for the race to be finished and we'll let Race Control do their thing. But as you said, the rules are, I think they do stipulate that drivers are allowed to have one change of manufacturer for this series. So yeah, perhaps Harry Dodds has taken it in round 2 and this is the one he's stuck with for the rest of the season. Or is it a master move that he possibly thought the Ferrari was better at Spa and the Mercedes is better for the rest of the series?
That is one of the strategies that a lot of drivers like to employ, Hutto. It was one of those strategies that was put in play last season by in the IMSA series for both GTD and GTP, but it was one of the rules that actually led to us having pretty much Porsche Cups on Friday nights when it was in GTs. It was nice though having diversity in the field, and with Doddsy being in the Mercedes, we have got every single car type covered now in this series outside of the McLaren, which is rather old. We have got at least one of every car in the GTD field here tonight.
You love to see that.
I guess that's one of the things that we don't have with Super Formulas is that car diversity, or that car type diversity of manufacturer. And it feels so nice after a season of pretty much the whole field being in Porsches and then a couple of stragglers at the back. We have that diversity now. We have got 5 different car types in the top 5, and I believe we have 6 different car types inside the top 10 at the moment. The top 5 is made up of a Porsche, an Audi, a Merc, a Corvette, and a BMW. The only other car type in the top 10 outside of those is the Mustangs of Jamie Dyke and Jacob Traynor.
Harry Dodds just coming across the start-finish line. He started to check out from Dougie Gowans there. I wonder if Doug's holding up the train a little bit, or is Harry Dodds just checking out? Or is perhaps Harry Dodds going to try and catch up to the blackout OPR guys at Barber and McCarthy?
Yeah, he appears to be on the move. Maybe he's maximising the time he has on track. I don't know, but yeah, he seems to have found a bit of pace in the last lap. Comparatively to Doug Gowans, Dodds did a 56.4 last lap, Dougie only did a 57.3. So he is currently lapping a bit faster than him at the moment. We are, though, 3 laps into this race. We have now started lap 4. Let's quickly check back on some of the incidents that have happened across this race so far. And it all started on lap 1 with this incident down at the second corner. It was between the likes of Jake Edwards, Thomas Donahoe. So what's happened here? So Edwards is up the inside of Traynor. He gets spun round and then all hell breaks loose as Benici had nowhere to go and just clips into the front of him there. Off the back of that, Edwards, I believe, a bit later in the lap, he gets another off-track possibly. Yep, he did indeed. That was a big off-track for him, down at 5.6. Just a slight track extension there, Hutto. He's running the Joker lap, apparently. As Mitch Noble also had a crash as well down at turn 1. And this looks to be... Oh, actually, no, it looks like turn 2. Oh, very easy to do there. Just turned in slightly too late, a little bit too much power, and the rear end's just come around. I mean, that's one of the biggest challenges in that Mustang is getting that rear end settled and nice and easy and just pointed for yourself. It's one of the toughest things when setting up that car. It's so fun to drive, but that rear end is just so loose, and it's yeah, it is such a challenge. Steph Piccoli in the chat saying supercars and GTG looks like no car change allowed according to the rule book. Okay, no car change allowed. Very interesting. So that would mean that Harry Dodds should be disqualified according to the rule book.
We hear race control just coming over now. Car 558, Jacob Traynor, will be getting a drive-through penalty.
Now, I believe that would be for the lap 1 incident that we saw with Jake Edwards. As unfortunately, Shannon Wright has had an incident in the background. What has occurred to him at the back of the field? He was ahead of Josh King. Oh, he's just caught that curb in the grass. And that is one of the slowest incidents I've ever seen in my life, Hutto. I mean,
it's that turn 2 again. There's 2 drivers now. And it seems to be we're catching these drivers out as well as sort of through the Schumacher S's. Dougie Gowan's been around twice, and Callahan, Hodgkinson going around at the start of the race. Very unfortunate. So yeah, I guess these guys have got to tame that rear.
Well, we're here now with Dougie Gowans as he comes through towards the final sector of this track. Might sit on board with him through the first sector as Dodds has pulled over.
That one's gone slow.
That's Dodds. Has he copped himself a slowdown? He may have done. He may have run wide at that corner.
Yeah, it looks like he's back up to speed now and racing again, so good to see.
That's right. Lipsky's had a he's traversed off track. He's dropped back a couple of spots. It doesn't look like he's copped any damage as Gowans comes across. P3 on the road. To this race. Stanley Traynor's in the lane. That's Jacob Traynor. So we mentioned rolling in the dice. Yeah, oh, sorry, yeah, he's serving that penalty. That's what we'll be. Let's just go on board now with Gowans. So this corner is actually, it can be quite deceiving, Hutto, of how you approach it. I think that's what's actually catching a lot of drivers out. It's quite unweighted. You go up over the hill. It goes from on camber to off camber quite easily. And you can sometimes get a bit of false hope about yourself, a bit of false confidence. Get on the power too early. And that's what can cause those slow spins around that corner, or even just turning a little bit too sharply, not being as smooth as what you would hope to be. Same for this corner too, but the difference with this corner and that one is this corner you'll actually run wide if you're not too smooth through there. If you try and punch it too early, too quickly, you can very easily run it out wide, sometimes even into the grass as well. So those are some of the biggest challenges in that first sector of this track. It comes down towards this right-hander, and I mentioned previously, the exit is what is the important part of this corner. You don't want to run out too wide, catch that sand, you'll end up in the wall. You don't want to get on the power too early as you exit, because you could also run out wide, slip out the rear end, and head up in the wall. As Josh King from Team SRW has had an incident up at the top of the hill, top of the Schumacher S's into the next chicane. And again, he's done well to hold his brakes. He's done very, very well to hold his brakes. And again, I think that was just one of those similar issues of Mustang rear end is not tamed properly with that setup. And I think that's what they're struggling with right now in those Stangs, because currently Jamie Dyke is the only Mustang left inside the top 10. As Hughes is now going for a move on Dodds. Oh, it is a drag race down to turn 1, isn't it?
Oh, this is good to see.
Oh, we'll see if he's going to break a little bit later. It looks like it was Hughes inside at 1 now. Dodds needs to give plenty of room. He does.
Stanley's just lurking behind them. He's just licking his lips like, come on, boys.
Oh, you know what he'd be hoping for right now? One of those slow spins through turn 2, and he just go right around them. Thank you very much for the position. They have been too wide since turn 1, and they're still too wide, Hutto. What is this?
I think a slow spin there at turn 2 would be absolutely awful if you're, if you're just a little bit too close to the 2 guys in front. It's like watching, like a slow-mo death of yours. You're trying to put on the brakes, and you just get ever so closer, but in slow motion. As we see, Doug Gowans has started to check out a little bit from Adam Hughes.
And this is one of the things about this track. Once the drivers start to get into those battles, you can start to pull away a little bit if you have got that consistency about you. We spoke about it previously, that we may not see too much spreading in the field, but we'll see these little battle packs start to form. Currently we have about 3 little battle packs. Everyone else has checked out just a little bit. What would be absolutely perfect possibly at this point in the race, is one of those dreaded safety cars. Because that would then force maybe some drivers to roll the dice, come in a bit early and just see where they end up later in the race. But it would also force the whole field back together and maybe put a bit more pressure on the front end of the field, because the Carton and Barber, they're 7.3 seconds up the road from the Allens. I mean, they're running away with it. Yeah. So
this is where the race is. It's between P3 to P7.
Yeah. So if these guys continue this battling though, Dougie's going to run away from him because he's not having to battle. He's in the clean air. He's just able to cut consistent laps, and if he drops lap time all of a sudden, then they'll be back on him. But it looks like Hughes is now even going to be able to run away from Dodsey, because he's already got that gap out to about 0.4 of a second. And Dodsey's not really close enough to put the challenge on him in the next part of the track. So he may even build that gap out to a second plus by the time of the Schumacher S's if Dodsey's not careful.
Just going to put it out there, Hamish. I reckon Stanley and Dyke are just biding their time, watching these three guys out in front, being exchanging places. I think they will profit when it comes the pit stop period.
I agree with you, Hutto. I agree with you 100% on that one. They are, and I mentioned it before, they are playing a patient game right now. They're looking after those tyres, saving a bit of fuel in the toe, and they aren't getting away from them. And that's what the big worry will be for Dodds and Hughes, who might be burning up their tyres, wasting a little bit more fuel, and they will lose that time in the pit stop. I think, depending on when they pit, I feel like Stanley is either going to have to try and get past Dodds, or he's just going to have to hope he can get him in the pit stops. Because if Dodds continues to hold him up, Hughes is just going to run away from him, and the pit stop bonus that you get, or the benefits you get from that pit stop, and then also having the fresh tyres at the end, is not going to be good enough for him to catch back up to him in that safety car.
Stanley might have a run here on Dodds now as we go up to the last part of the course.
Up towards the chicane. It's not quite close enough to give it a send. I must say I appreciate that we chose a layout that does not have the uber tight chicane at the end of it. I can appreciate that we have the faster pace chicane at the end. That first chicane is the absolute dread. I hate that last chicane. This layout is definitely my preferred layout, with the more straight line variant up towards the final corner.
As we see, Lipsky's just come in just now, in through the pits and rejoining at the back of behind Jamie Dyke, but a lap down.
Yeah, he had an off track. Oh, he's got big damage on the back of that car. So this may actually give more reasoning as to why. He was already missing the back end, so there was a previous reason. Oh, and he's just... he is...
It's happened before that again.
Yeah, it has.
He's coming hard somewhere.
Here it is. So he had Traynor behind him. Oh, and he's just been absolutely turned into the wall. Yep. And Traynor's tried to redress, but again, unfortunately, Lipsky's lost too many spots for that to be an acceptable redress. I think from looking at that, I think Traynor may have some answering too. Unfortunately.
Well, unfortunately we've just missed. Stanley's just dropped back into P8. What's happened there, Hamish?
Let's find what has happened to Mr. Aaron Stanley. This would give us the reasoning as to why he is so far back. So he's in behind Dodds, down at turn 3. What's he done? Is it a slow spin or is it outside? Oh!
I think he's just tagged the back of the car in front there. It's just unbalanced the car there.
Yeah.
Does well, just sit there, wait his turn, wait for the other cars to go past and rejoin safely.
It's good to see, even in a moment of what would be ultra frustration for him, he was able to keep the cool head of, let's just be patient, wait for my gap, and I'll try and do this as safely as possible. Instead of panicking and pushing too hard to get back straight again and get out of the way, he's done well just to, obviously Dyke had to take some avoiding action, he had really nowhere to go. But Aaron's done really well there to be patient and just bide his time on that one. A bit further back, we've got Thomas Donohoe, Sean Benici. They're currently battling for P12. Benici still hasn't come in to fix that damage on his car. I have to wonder if he even knows that he's currently running around right now without a nose on that on that Corvette.
perhaps it's giving it a little bit more speed down the straight as we see Donahoe just trailing up behind him. Donahoe looks in down the inside.
Big
Will
old
get the job
sand.
done.
Oh.
Still a few more corners to go, gents.
There he is. Nietzsche's just trying to hang on. Donahoe, he's so close to getting this move done. Donahoe just has to back out. He's not going to go too wide. Got the switchback though. That was an incredible move from Donahoe. He's going to have the drive out of the corner. He's going to get this move done. That there was some exceptional strategy from Thomas Donahoe to pull off a textbook switchback. If we ever had digital textbooks, Hutto, a video of that right there when you look at the definition of switchback, that'd be what they'd have in that textbook. For sure, that was perfection.
Digital textbook, you mean the internet?
Oh yeah, the internet, yeah, I suppose. Yeah, I'm thinking more like a Kindle.
Yeah,
I'm surprised that Kindles aren't like that. You know, it's a digital book. Why can we not have videos?
Much more a fan of those analog books, you know, the ones with the paper pages. They're great.
The acoustic books, I go.
Yes.
Yeah, as a man who's never owned a Kindle, I can agree with you. As Hodgkinson's had a moment as well, down at 5 and 6. Oh, and he's just run a bit wide, and it's so easy to do there as well, especially with these mid to rear engine cars. Oh, he's done well not to hit the wall. I nearly spoke too soon. But he's just having an off night tonight. He's Mr. Hodgkinson as Benici brings it in. So
well, it's probably at that 20-minute mark now, and the drivers will be thinking about, you know, should I pit, should I not? And I guess now that Benici's been able to hold off Donahoe for potentially however long it's been since we've been doing the front, now's probably a good time. He's just lost that place. Go in, get the pit stop done, regather himself, get back out into clean air, and try and get past him when Donahoe pits potentially.
Well, what it also might be as well, I know that Sean likes to watch the broadcast. Maybe he heard my joke about his nose, and that's how he then knew that he needed to come in and fix the car.
Well, Josh King's now in the pit as well. He's just pulled in for his stop, it looks like.
Off the back of Douglas Gowans, trying to hold off Adam Hughes at the moment right now. Hughesy has shown some great pace tonight, hasn't he? He's up 16 spots, didn't qualify the car, and is just picking his way through the field. And he's only got one spot to get until Blackout OPR have got a podium lockout for the second week in a row.
Yeah, Blackout OPR will be mighty happy with that as Hughes gets it done. Yes, he does. He zoomed past Gowans.
He's just launched it up the inside of Gowans. He's made that look way too easy on him.
I think Doug's had to serve a slow down there, unfortunately.
Yes. Yep, that would explain it. So I wonder where he's actually copped that slowdown. Maybe through the Schumacher S's? Well, it made Adam Hughes' night a lot easier. That officially gives him a 17th position gain, but he has got to gain about 10 seconds on the road if he wishes to make an 18th position out there. As the field has started to spread out a little bit, Hutto, but we have had some pit stops happen. We are getting into pit stop period time now, so I expect the last 10 minutes we should get those battle packs back and formed as we look back at this one here between Rushworth and Feely in the battle for the back end of the top 10. With Rushworth currently in P11 on the road in the Apex Esports machine. Had a great run in the Legends tonight, got a P3 in race 1. And then still had a reasonable run in race 2 as well. Got a good chunk of points for himself in that series. He's currently on for a positive finish here tonight, possibly getting himself a top 10 if he can get this move done on Feely.
He's not far off Feely right now, within the second. Be looking to push up and just apply some pressure to Feely. Maybe try and get something done before the pit stop. Neither driver have pitted just yet.
If we look at who is pitted at the moment, we can see that Sean Benici came in on lap 10. Hodgkinson came in on the first lap, so you'll still need another stop. King and Noble also came in on lap 10. Lipsky was lap 7. Jake Edwards came in on lap 2, but he has not gotten going again, unfortunately, so he is out of this race. Do we expect Lipskin need another stop, do you reckon? I mean, that was lap 7. That was probably 12 minutes into this race. He could possibly get home.
Well, I guess without looking, or having the data of fuel usage in front of us and how much is in the fuel tank tonight for each of these cars, perhaps he can go long and get over the line. 7 just seems a little bit shy. I'm just trying to jot my memory whether he had an off-track.
If we go off lap times, Hutto, they're running just under 2-minute lap times as Doddsy now brings his car into pit lane. They're running just under 2-minute lap times. That would put him roughly at the 13 or 14 minute mark. If they can go out to as long as 30 minutes, we could assume he can get home. Especially if, like, some people are coming in at 20 minutes.
Yeah.
I'd say the only answer we're going to get is if someone can go all the way to 30 minutes. That's really the only answer we're going to get. If someone can go 30 minutes without pitting, then he should be able to get home.
Well, we're starting to see a few of the drivers, as you said, they're starting to filter in, and as Tom Williams goes out and Jacob Trainer's back in again for his stop. I know he came in very early on.
For his drive.
Yeah, that's what it was. Yes. Yeah, it was a 26-second transit for him, and I guess pit stops now are taking anywhere between 36 to 42 seconds, 40 seconds. Let's just say 40 seconds, nice round number. So I guess for the leaders is like, what do you do now? Do you stay out? Because 40 seconds down to the track, for let's say Barb's came in right now, let it drop him back to P10, just coming out in front of Russell Gander.
Well, we've also got to take into consideration that it's 40 seconds that you're moving. It's only 8 seconds you actually stop. So it's almost like a middle ground of how much time you actually lose in a pit stop. And it's one thing that I've been trying to wrap my brain around for a long time is how can we figure out where people are actually going to end up? I think if Barbs were to come in now, he would most likely end up, I think, a little bit higher than Tom Donahoe, possibly around about Matt Feely or Ben Brook, based on the fact that it's only the 7 to 9 seconds that he stopped for, plus the fact that he's moving at a rate for the 38 seconds. He's not stopped for the 38 to 40 seconds. He is still moving. So I think maybe he gives up 20 seconds in the pit stop across the board of the travel and actual stopping time. That would put him back roughly. That would actually put him back roughly into P5 with Aaron Stanley. If it's more like 25 seconds, he may be a little bit further back towards Ben Brook. In P6 at the moment now as Dyke and Rushworth come in. So I think the fact they've actually built this gap, they can afford to come in slightly early because they're not going to come out around drivers who are driving dangerously or slowly. They're just going to come out around drivers who still need to stop and are maybe going slightly slower than them on a lap time, maybe 5/10 of a second slower. So I think that's really where the strategy is now going to come out for both Barbers and McCartan. I actually think they'll come in together because they'll probably want to continue doing this strategy of towing with each other, building the gap, working together, and then having a battle in the last 5 minutes of the race.
I think this really plays into Stefan's hands here. If when Barb's pits, if Stefan's been able to just save a little bit of fuel, I'd expect Stefan probably goes one lap longer if he's been able to save some fuel, as we see someone just re-enter the track there.
That was Josh King.
King.
He's had a bit of a traverse, a bit of a track extend down here at, I believe it's turn 10. Oh yeah, classic Mustang. Just a classic.
It's a slow death tonight, isn't it? Each of these cars just slowly going around.
If there's one thing you're going to learn about specifically the Mustang, Hutto, it loves a slow spin created by the rear end. And that's one of the biggest challenges of setting up that car is solidifying that rear end and getting it structured. The problem is, once you tighten up that rear end, all of a sudden, it doesn't want to turn. You just have a heap of understeer at that point. So it's a real balancing act. If you then look at the opposite end of the spectrum with the Corvette, that has some understeer problems on baseline. As soon as you try and tighten them up and fix them up, you have rear end wanting to come around. So both of them, it's almost like you're wanting a perfect balance between both. It's such tight margins getting them set up and getting them perfected. And it just seems that maybe King and Traynor in those SRW cars, they just haven't been able to attain a setup that's actually been able to get that rear end settled.
So Hamish, for a beginner like myself, what car would you recommend or point me in the direction of as to get started with these GTDs?
So I would say it would depend on what type of car you like to drive normally. If you are a supercars driver, I recommend one of the front engine cars like the BMW. Mustang's all right. Again, that has those problems with the setup. A really solid front engine car, BMW. Mercedes is a bit lackluster based on the BOP at the moment. The BMW is good. You're coming from a rear-engined, open-wheeler type structure. The Ferrari, you can't really go wrong with it based on the fact that they allow Class D drivers to race it in the Ferrari Open Challenge. There's always something to race in that car. It's always a solid option. The Porsche is good, but it does take, a little bit of effort to really get into nuances with it. And I have also just thought of that while speaking about that. We don't have every car type on track because we don't have a Lamborghini out on track tonight, unfortunately. But we have seen one of every car type this season, as we did have one last week. But I would say current BOP, the Lambo's looking good. But again, it's a car you really need to set up for. Steph's right. Ferrari, it's a good all-rounder. If you're coming from an open-wheeler perspective, the Ferrari is literally... It's set up the best for anyone just to hop in and drive based on the fact that they have it for D-class drivers to race in. Everything else is a little bit of a workaround. The Audi's nice. From what I've heard, I actually haven't driven the new Audi. I do like the Porsche, but my preference at the moment is the Corvette. But the Ferrari is good as well. The Ferrari and the Corvette are pretty much on a level playing field a little bit. The Ferrari just slightly gets it though. For someone like yourself coming from an open-wheel background, for a supercars or a touring car background, the BMW is the go.
Oh, I've just seen up on the ticker. Sean Bonici looks like he's just had a little off track.
Yeah, and his
Can't
car
see any
looks
damage.
straight. Yeah, his car looks good. Let's see what he's done. Apparently he's actually had a crash, but I suspect it's another slow spin down at turn 10. Oh, wouldn't you know it? I hit the nail on the head. I have absolutely nailed that prediction. Do not ask me how I've done it. I'll give you the lotto numbers later on.
You're a wizard, Harry.
I know. See, Aaron Stanley, he's on the same level as he was last week, Hutto. He started P6 last week, finished P8, starts P3 this week. He's currently P5. So he's consistent, but he's consistently losing 2 spots each race.
Well, who was it in the battle pack we were just monitoring? I think it was Aaron Stanley and Jamie Dyke in that little battle pack earlier on between, P3 to P7. And they've spread out now, and I think Harry Dodd's the only... Dyke's taken a pit stop, as has Harry Dodds. Yeah, surely the front runners be thinking they've got to have a pit soon as we're coming up, 30 minutes now?
Yep, and I mean... Maybe they're pushing for a no-stop.
Is it possible with these cars? Surely if you're out in front, you can't perform a no-stop.
Not without safety cars, I don't think.
Well, I don't see a safety car coming out.
No, I don't either. I think we're way too spread out for that to happen.
As we speak of that, Aaron Stanley enters the pit lane.
So in comes Stanley. Let's keep an eye on where Dyke is. He's coming up towards the final chicane. Dodsey is not too far up the road from him and entering said chicane at the moment. So he's about to come around the final corner. We'll keep an eye on where Aaron Stanley is. And when he exits pits, he has not hit his pit box yet. As Dodds comes round the final corner, Donahoe's in as well. Stanley's just gone up on the jacks. Dodds is going to get him. Is Dykey going to get him as well? Stanley has just dropped Hutto, but he has not come out ahead of Jamie Dyke. Is he even going to come out ahead of Tom Williams, his own teammate?
Well, I do think Stanley had that wee spin midway through the race, so I guess it's dropped him back a little bit, but he does come out in front of his teammate, like you said, Tom Williams.
Yep, so he has at least kept that position, but now he is down 6 spots, although the top 6 cars on the road do need a pit stop, so we suspect he's probably going to gain 2 more spots back on Matt Feely and Ben Brook, which would put him 4 spots down from where he started this race. As we're now on board with him, there are less than 10 minutes to go in this race. In fact, there's 7 minutes to go next week. Not next week, left in this race, sorry. My brain is elsewhere. Yeah, I have to. Oh, I was about to ask the question when are they going to come in, but they're coming in now, and they have come in together, Hutto. So Blackout OPR are going to work together on this one. I suspect Hughes is also in. He is indeed. What about Gowans? He is in. He might get done for a dangerous pit entry because he has just crossed that checkered line. I hope he hasn't. As Brooke comes on through. Oh no, Jack Oz. I'll have to talk to you about that after the race. Brooke's going to come up towards the final chicane. I doubt he's going to get them, but is he going to pit this lap? Or can he go any longer? He cannot. So I think this is pretty much the maximum at this point, because I think Feely, yep, he's had to follow his own teammates in as well. McCartan, though, has come out ahead of Greg Barber. So that fuel saving that McCartan would have been doing, Hutto, has paid dividends because he's needed less fuel in the stock.
I guess a good move between the teammates. Let's see if... no, surely there's not going to be any team orders between these two. Surely it's just race.
I think the team orders would have been let Stefan sit behind you for the majority so he could save fuel, and then he just gets the spot for free in the pit stop.
Well, he did win last week's race, so, you know, winning again tonight will just extend his lead a little bit. I haven't seen Beatrice on track this week, unfortunately. He was our other, well, Beatrice and Shepherd. No Shepherd this week.
No
either.
Dylan Shepherd either.
So I guess, if anything, Jamie Dyke, Doug Gowans and Greg Barber will look to profit from those two being absent this week and, you know, move them up the ladder. Whereas McCartan will have a nice little gap.
This would probably slot Dykey well in the top 5 of the championship at this point, I would assume.
Well, he finished P4 last week, so definitely in the top 4.
Would he be top 3 now, actually? Because where did
he was in front of Gowans?
Where did Gowans finish last week? Let's have a look.
Gowans was P5.
Oh no,
Gowans was P5.
Gowans would actually be top 3 because he's gaining more points than he lost on Dyke last week.
Yeah, we need to get a live ladder, Hamish.
We do.
We need to get one.
We need to be able to get this in the books and working.
And Sinker, if you're watching, we'd love a live ladder. Thank you.
Please, we need to be able to implement this somehow. I think we need to investigate if SDK can do it. If they can do it, then we can figure out how to implement it. So we have got 5 minutes to go, so we are going to go safety carless here tonight. Hutto, it has been too safe of a race for Tyson to get that car out on track.
It is what you do want to see as a driver. You never really want to see it be chock-a-block with safety cars and the stop-start. Whilst it does make it entertaining for the broadcast and the viewers out there, I guess the drivers won't be complaining at all. Unless you're at the back, then it's a boring old race sometimes.
Well, not just that, if you go a lap down, you never get the lap back as well. Correct. Which can often be a shame for some drivers. I mean, you look at Martin Lipsky, Callum Hodgkinson, they're a lap down. Fortunately, Mitch Noble's not returned to circuit after coming into the pits a couple of laps ago. And then, yeah, Jake Edwards has been in since lap 1 pretty much. So, but at the moment, we have 17 cars on the lead lap, although Feely and King and Wright are technically on the last lap. They just haven't been passed by the leader in Stefan McCartan just yet. It is McCartan who leads the way to Greg Barber, to Adam Hughes, to Doug Gowans as Rushworth and Donahoe are battling in the background for P10 on the road. This is the battle for the back end of the top 10. It is McCartan, Barber, Hughes, the top 3, Gowans, Dodds, top 5, Dyke, Stanley, Williams, Brook. And this battle between Rushworth and Donahoe to determine the back end of the top 10. And Benici, Traynor, Gander, Feely, King, Wright, Lipsky, and Hodgkinson make up the rest of the field, although is Hodgkinson even moving? No, Hodgkinson's out of the race. Unfortunately.
Possibly retired, I think.
Yes. So Lipsky is the last car that is running on track. Race Control, for some reason, have hopped into their car in the pit lane. So we'll get that pit lane report off the screen. We don't need that. Not too many penalties coming tonight either, Hutto. It's been pretty clean, pretty consistent. And we're looking ahead to next week for
Mugello.
Oh, Mugello. Oh, that'll be very interesting. I love a bit of Mugello, especially in GT cars.
So that's a very very flowing and fast cornered track, isn't it?
Yep, and we're on for another 40-minute affair for a normal round. Then we've got our first sprint round of the season for Imola in 2 20-minute sprints. That'll be very interesting. Back for a 40-minute race at Road America. 2 20-minute sprints back here in Germany for Hockenheim, Daytona for an Enduro of 60 minutes, then head back over to Europe for Portimao in Portugal for 2 20-minute sprint races. Then we have an Enduro Driver's Choice round at the end of the season, which I do think the Driver's Choice has actually been confirmed by Stefan, but I have to find out what it is.
It's quite a good lineup you've spread out there, Hamish. It's quite a good lineup.
I'm excited. It's going to be an absolute cracking season ahead. Doesn't make sense logistically in terms of going back and forth from the US to a European country about 5 weeks in a row, but that's okay. It's sim racing. We can go anywhere in the world at a click of a button. It doesn't necessarily have to be logistically correct. As Rushworth has just started to build this gap now over Tom Donahoe, so he's absolutely done him in. He's got past him. He's got a minute 15 to get this car home, and he's starting to build the gap out to over a second, but Stefan McCartan's coming up to cross the line. He's going to start the final lap when he does, and this has just been blackout OPR hour the last 2 weeks here on Friday nights for the GT action. As McCartan comes round, he will cross the line. Barney will be out. It'll be white flag. Final lap of this race for Stefan McCartan. Greg Barber in behind him and has been all blackout OPR these last 2 weeks. They are currently on road for a second podium lockout in a row for them. Gowans has had a good run. He's hoping for another top 5 finish. Dykey's just offered as Dodsy's brought his car into pit lane, so that will actually give Dykey the top 5. And Hutto, we spoke about points. Dykey and Gowans, they're going to be equal on points.
I wonder what's brought Dodds into the pits. Possibly a drive. Oh, it's not even enough off tracks, I don't think. It's been quite a tidy race. That's unfortunate.
Maybe not enough fuel. I'm not sure.
It's devastating if you short field yourself. It'd be nice if we can possibly get into the field or get some feedback from Dodds as to what happened there. As we see McCartan wrapping it up here.
Oh, he has done exceptionally tonight. Jack was saying pretty good effort by them. They've done incredibly well. They have.
It's been nearly flawless. They've been 1-2 all race.
They have, and they haven't given up anything this race. They're proving why they are some of the favourites to win this race, why they are consistent top split drivers in special events. I know that Stefan's competing in a Road America special event tomorrow, and then another one on Sunday. So these guys are completely committed to these cars. Jackos has asked, do you think Tyson took a Concorde to make it from Florida to Germany in 30 minutes? I think he took a teleporter, to be honest with you. As McCartan comes round the final corner now, it has been blackout OPR dominance as they not only lock out, but blackout the top 3 at the Nürburgring. McCartan to Barber for the top 2, and then Adam Hughes is going to round out the trio and come home P3 on the podium. Dougie Gowans is going to come home in P4 for Velocity Sim Labs, a quality finish for him. But unfortunately for him, Harry Dodds has come into the pits. That means Jamie Dykes made it into the top 5, and they will go into next round equal on points, Hutto. As Dyke comes around the final corner. He's got Stanley hounding him in behind. He isn't quite close enough, though, unfortunately. P5 and P6 for Dyke and Stanley. Williams P7 on the road here tonight. Benjamin Brooks going to come home in P8 in behind with Rushworth and Donahoe battling, but Rushworth's lost it on the final chicane. Donahoe's going to come through in P9. Bonici's going to get Rushworth for the top 10. He had it in his hands and he's thrown it away at the final moments, the dying embers. And Rushworth has to say bye to a top 10 finish here at the Nürburgring. Traynor's going to come across the line in P12. Gander, not too far behind him, is going to come up and cross the line in P13. We've then got Matty Feely further down the road in P14. But blackout OPR, what a race for them. And the celebrations have begun early.
Yeah, the boys will be happy with that one. 1, 2, 3. Be able to, I guess, debrief and celebrate over the weekend with this, blackout.
Well, they have They have absolutely locked it up, and they are looking to lock up this championship this season. As we run through our provisional race results for you now, how they ended it out in this one. Why are we still on GTP? We're on GTD, of course. Stefan McCartan comes home ahead of Greg Barber and Adam Hughes for that Blackout OPR podium lockout 2 weeks in a row, with Doug Gowans and Jamie Dyke making up the top 5. It's then Aaron Stanley, Tom Williams, Ben Brook, Thomas Donahoe, Sean Benici making up the 10, Andrew Rushworth, Jacob Traynor, Russell Gander, Matt Feely, Harry Dodds making up the top 15 to Josh King, Shannon Wright, Martin Lipsky, Callan Hodgkinson making up the top 19 to Mitch Noble, Jake Edwards, and then Lockie Brett was never got going here tonight, and Edwards never really got going either after he came in on lap 1. But what we will do is we will wait for our podium finishers to come into the green room to have a quick chat to them here tonight. Let's pick some B-roll. We are obviously just going to sit on the front of the field because it's all Blackout OPR out there. As we await them to come for a chat. We have got all 3 of them. We're going to chat to them, all 3 of them, Hutto, since they are all from the same team.
That's a good idea.
Let's drag them all in.
Our sweep.
So, gentlemen, 2 weeks in a row, you have Blackout the podium. Are we going to get some parity this season, or is it just going to be Blackout 1, 2, 3 every week with Dyke and Gowan swapping and changing P4 and P5?
Well, given we're doing it in different cars,
this is a good point.
I don't think we need any parity.
Congratulations tonight, gents. I guess for Barbs and Stefan, what was there any chat going throughout the races as to like pit strategy, or if you could go long? What was the chatter between you two?
Minimal,
to be honest.
Yeah, not a lot. Yeah, we've kind of joked about who was saving more fuel, but no one was really giving away how much they were. So in the end, we saved about the same, and Stefan took a litre less than me in the stop and got the jump.
I guess this is good for the viewers, Hamish, where we have like 2 guys from the same team. That's, let them race, but yeah, keep their cards close to their chest. I guess Barb's a little bit of room to make up on Stefan. Do you reckon you'll be able to ping him, get him next race?
Look, tonight I think it was just a case of whoever followed the car ahead to the pit stop was able to judge their fuel usage a bit better. And as I said, I finished with 1.2 litres in the tank. I think Stefan finished with 0.1 or 0.2 or something in the tank. So it was literally just the difference in fuel fill that we took in the stop, really.
Well, I mean, Barbs, are you feeling happy this week that you had a much cleaner opponent around you the whole race?
Well, I mean, that's what you get when you race at the front, really. Last week I was struggling with the car, to be honest, and managed to wrestle the best result I could, really. What did I get, P5 or P6 or something? Whereas this week I've been able to find a little bit of speed in the car, just make a few tweaks to the setup and go from there.
Well, speaking of quality runs, we've got to talk about Hughesy. 17 spots up, but unfortunately, when you got to the 17th spot up, you had to. Your teammates weren't willing to give up their 10-second lead to help you get an 18th and a 19th. Well, do you think it came down to the lack of goated RC tonight, Hughesy, or do you just think maybe putting a qualifying time in might have done you a little bit better?
I think a bit of column A, bit of column B. I know he's listening, so I'm going to say that Tyson could have done better if I was there, but I'm not going to judge him. And I thought maybe that I should probably attend to my son's needs before I thought I'd throw it in a lap. So yeah, it was either going to be last to first fence challenge or last to top 10 challenge. So I'm glad that the latter happened.
Oh, I'm glad you're able to pull that off, hey, Hutto? You had a great run to get that.
Absolutely. I guess, Hughesy, what was the mindset? Starting back at P20, like you said, you wanted to have a run to the top or at least get to the top 10. What was, I guess, your mindset for the opening laps, or do you have goals, or you setting little at the end of lap 1, lap 2?
I just stayed out of trouble, and a top 10 or a top 5 would have been ideal for points because I think I DNF'd last week due to my son again. So just wanted a top 5 or a top 10. So no, just keep out of trouble and chip it away. I know when I got to Harry Dodds and to Dougie Cowans, they'd be the Minister of Defences, respectively. So yeah, it's just a matter of getting past them. I think Doddsy had a bit of a moment, and I think Dougie got a slowdown, which actually helped me out quite a lot when he got it. So yeah, just got lucky for most of the night, I think. And then yeah, third place is on my Johnny Lonesome, and hoping that Stefan and or Barbs would in fact actually come together and sort of amass themselves into the wall, but they didn't do that.
Jeez, it's a nice team here at Blackout OPR. They're just
Mate,
hoping everyone each other's death.
They need to change their name to Black Eye OPR, I reckon.
Yeah, just about.
They're asking
Deep
for
down
his-
inside.
Yeah,
I guess we don't see what happens in the pits after these interviews, do we, Hamish?
That's exactly right, Hutto.
Yeah.
Stefan, another win for you, just dominating the GTs at the moment, although you had a bit of help from Greg tonight by just hanging out with him all race, holding his hand. Next week, though, of course, we go to, I know Hutto mentioned it before now, I've completely forgotten it again. We go to Magello. We go to Magello next week. Nice flowing track. Could be good for some good battles. Do you think you're going to be able to build as much of a gap once again at that track, or do you reckon you might be up for a bit more of a test when we head out to Italy for the third round?
It depends on the weather, really. I know the Audi is very good around there in the rain, and it's very trash there in the dry. And the Porsche is good there in both conditions. So it'll be difficult. Depends if Adam turns up for qualifying this time. But I think it's going to be a lot tougher at Magello. Probably not going to have time to practice before it. So it'll be another grid and go expedition. But it should be good fun. And hopefully it rains. That's all I can hope for, really.
So we know that if it does rain, Hutto, that there has been some tweaking or playing of the gods by Stefan. And he's just trying to help himself next week in Magello. Is that what you're saying, Stefan?
Definitely not. I would never do that.
You don't want to see it. I guess just a question to all three of you guys. With the cars you've chosen with the manufacturer, will you change cars throughout the season, or are you going to stick with the one car for the whole season?
So everyone's locked to their car of choice.
Okay,
that's right.
That leads on to my next question then. Why was Harry allowed to race?
That's a decision for RC.
Okay.
He's allowed to race, but he doesn't get any points.
Oh, I see. So
He gets disqualified from the result.
Oh, okay, so if he comes back next week and races in the Ferrari, he's eligible for points. Is that correct?
Correct. Yeah,
Okay.
correct. It's under the rule where you connect in the wrong car, you receive no points for that race.
Fair enough.
bugger.
That would explain then why he came into the pits, Hutto, because he probably just came in and thought, "Oh, I'm not going to get points. I've had a good run.
Yeah.
Let's just give up the guaranteed top 5 and give it to Dikey." So, oh well. I mean, it was a good race from you guys. Obviously, Husey battling his way through the field. Stefan and Barbs controlling up the front. Let us know who helps get you guys out on track from Blackout OPR. Anyone else you want to give a shout out to as well? And for myself and Hutto, congratulations on a second week in a row blacking out the podium in the GTD field.
Yeah, cheers. Obviously, thanks to SRW for putting on the series, simrigs.com, Palmerston Bakery, Distraction Sim Supply, Shunt Scenery, Blackout Electrical Solutions is our naming right sponsor, and DSM Painting and Decorating, and to Adam's parents for babysitting his kid.
A treasured bonus of his life, I'm sure.
I'd like to say thanks to Adam's parents for not babysitting his kid for qualifying.
Oh, very good. Well, you guys have had an absolute blinder of a race. I wish you the best of luck for Magello next week. I look forward to seeing how you guys go in that one. And hopefully you guys can continue this run. Although I do hope for the viewers' sake we do maybe not get a blackout podium once again, if I'm honest. But you guys are the talk of the town, and you are the team in the series right now. So best of luck for next week. And if we don't get a chance to speak to you, best of luck for the rest of the season.
Cheers, guys.
Thanks,
Yes,
guys.
thank you.
Thanks, boys. Well, Hutto, how did you feel your first night in the sports car realm went in learning about these cars and getting a little bit more feel about how these races can kind of go?
It definitely looks like it's more of a strategic race of like pick your battles if you know towards the back of the pack, and kind of pick a driver you benchmark yourself to. But it seems like it's more of a waiting game. I was honestly waiting for a safety car. You know, the last 15, 20 minutes, the drivers were starting to make a few mistakes here and there, but safety car didn't come out. Would have been nice to see. I guess that changed throughout the race, just to bunch the pack back up and see how each driver attacks it. But yeah, I might have to have a dabble in the GTDs. However, I'm not looking forward to those slow spins that kept appearing tonight.
Well, I think it was a good race nonetheless. Nurburgring gave us some good battles, of course, some good strategy plays from a lot of drivers. Should we announce what's been getting talked about in the back end, Hutto, in terms of Wednesdays?
Oh, there's a lot going on in the back end space. There's quite a lot still to iron out some kinks, but yeah, let it rip, Hamish.
So, as of this Wednesday, ladies and gentlemen, Andrew Cowan will no longer be in the booth. Instead, he will be in the cockpit of a Super Formula Light in the Cooler Master Super Formula Championship. And in the booth with me will be none other than Brad Hudson. And we will be able to call in on Cowie throughout the race, see how he's going, give him a chance to run. And this is going to happen at least for the last half of this season, and we'll see how he feels. And if he wants to do next season, he'll do next season as well. Just so then Cowie has the opportunity to not only try out those cars, but he also just wants to test out his new wheel, to be honest. So gives him an opportunity to do that. Gives Hutto the opportunity to gain some more experience in the broadcasting side of things. And lets us change it up a little bit, Hutto, and get something new and fresh going for that series. And being able to call on a driver mid-race, seeing how they're going literally inside the car, and how the race is panning out for them as they're driving as well.
I guess we'll just have to try and get them at a happier time, or hopefully they're not going off their chops at any one time when we drag them in. But yeah, it should be something exciting for the viewers to see, a mid-race cross. And I guess, I relish the challenge of jumping into the broadcast. I've definitely got a lot to learn and a lot to improve on, but F3's Super Formula Lights or open wheelers are close to my heart. I'm quite invested in this series and the teams and the drivers, so I'm looking forward to it.
Sean Benici just said in the chat, so I can bump and run Cowie.
Unfortunately, with those open wheelers, they're a bit stronger than the F3, but
he might bump and run himself if he attempts that. He might go end over end like he did on the other night, but hopefully.
How many times do you see cars go wheel to wheel, and I guess the one that's doing the bumping comes off second best? But
that's exactly right. Well, thanks for joining me tonight, Hutto. I look forward to being with you once again on Wednesday night for the Super Formula Championship, brought to you by Cooler Master. If you guys haven't already, be sure to hit the like button, the subscribe, and the bell icon so you're notified whenever we go racing here on SRWtv, with 6 massive series on offer across 5 nights here on SRW, including the Tuesday Warren Brown Tools V8 Supercars Series, the Wednesday Cooler Master Super Formula Championship, the Thursday night Shannon's Insurance Toyota GR86 Nationals, the Friday evening Legends World Challenge, and the Friday night Warren Brown Tools GTD Series. Running out of racing week, our Warren Brown Tools V8 Supercars Championship, where we head out to Imola this weekend. As I mentioned, the Tuesday replay broadcast will likely be happening tomorrow afternoon. Confirmation time slot will be released as of tomorrow morning, so you guys will be in the loop of when that will be occurring. Big thank you guys out to all of our series sponsors, including our title sponsors, Warren Brown Tools, Cooler Master, and Shannon's Insurance, and our other sponsors, DSL Railway Services, NeuroPower, Shunt Scenery, and Groom Industries, the home of the V8 Coffee Table, where you can find it on Prime Videos, Amazon, Prime Videos, Top Gear Australia. For myself, Hamish Munro, Brad Hudson alongside me, we appreciate your time, appreciate you being here once again. Stay safe, drive hard, and as always, bye for now.
Amazing, I was clash heads again. This is like Chaz Moskin and Cam Waters, almost the same situation. Better contact going down the hill. Sam Noble wants to sniff on Dave Coleman now. Sam Noble bottle right now because tell you what, Bruce Tanak and Jamie Dyke just absolutely drove away from us.